I think this place and 𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗆 as a lagoon is pretty much all the memories that I can remember as like fond times of growing up in and around the ocean and in and around the lagoon and becoming comfortable with the ocean environment in every way, shape or form. And I think that's what helped shape me.
Chris Bertish is the ultimate waterman and comfortable on the ocean in any craft he sets his sights on. He's explored a lifetime of adventures and cracked world-first records in adverse conditions that only a man of extreme courage and discipline would dream of. His love of the ocean was formed at a very young age. This is where the Bertish family spent most of their holidays, 𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗆 on the Cape West coast. The ocean and water sports were in their blood, and for the youngest of the three sons, Chris, it was to become his life.
I was very fortunate to grow up as the youngest of three naughty brothers, and we spent a lot of time in the ocean. My dad was an amazing human and incredible waterman himself, and he skied for Britain and South Africa and built the first ever catamaran just over here, and we used to sail out here, ski here. We just spent all our time immersed in the ocean, and I think that's what really helped create us into the very adventurous humans that we are.
Nicknamed Crispy, Chris worked extra hard to keep up with his older brothers, Greg and Con.
It was probably the classic younger kid who's trying to catch up. And I was trying to catch up with my older brother, Greg. Poor old Crispy, he had to try and catch up double that. And in that dynamic, he developed this incredible skill of discipline. And that is what has enabled him to overcome all these different challenges that he puts himself in, because he's so disciplined, Derek.
Then suddenly his father died when Bertish was barely 21. It left a void he tried to fill by setting goals his father would have been proud of.
What I learned from that is that he had given me such a great gift of being so comfortable and confident in the ocean.
Bertish was comfortable in most water sports, but his ultimate goal was to become a big wave surfer. The Mavericks big wave event in California was his childhood dream.
Mavericks was, that was a pretty big deal, I guess, because 15 years I'd been working towards a goal of becoming one of the best big wave surfers in the world.
Describe catching that wave.
You know, catching a 60-foot wave, which is a, equivalent of a 5-story building, and then, being at the top of that and having to commit, everything slows down when adrenaline kicks in, and you've got to be really sure of yourself and sure that you can make it out the other side in one piece.
Which not everybody has.
Not everybody has, and a couple of people have died, a couple of friends that I've known have died, especially at Mavericks.
Bertish became the first South African to win the legendary Mavericks big wave event in 2010. From big wave surfing, he turned to author and motivational speaker. Then breaking the 12-hour Guinness World Record on a stand-up paddleboard was only a stepping stone for him, as he managed 8 days and 350 kilometers from Cape Point to Lambert's Bay unsupported.
I got to the point that I used all these different adventures as almost like stepping stones. Everything was building blocks to go bigger.
In 2017, Bertish embarked on his most ambitious and dangerous adventure, a mammoth quest to paddle solo 4,050 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, spending more than 3 months at sea unsupported.
Bertish had a circle of close friends who were behind his every adventure. Andrew Hooks was one of his surfing buddies.
I think I followed the grand total of all his exploits. As a close friend, it's my duty to have his back and to get myself on his side when he needs support.
He's been on many missions, dangerous ones, but how did you feel about the transatlantic crossing?
I thought at that point he's probably lost the plot.
The voyage would take 93 days to paddle from Agadir, Morocco to the Caribbean island of Antigua on a tiny vessel called 𝗵𝗶 Fish. Behind the mission was his drive to make a difference in the lives of other people and the planet. Funds raised would go to Operation Smile, education, and ocean conservation initiatives, which he felt passionate about.
I spent almost 3.5 to 5 years planning that journey and also designing and building, getting the craft built in the UK, and then tweaking all these different elements for a craft that had never been built like that before.
Darren Robertson, a friend from varsity days, was in charge of the logistics and financial planning.
Now, for a project like that, you needed cash.
Absolutely. I mean, we were behind the 8 ball from the get-go. We basically almost never had enough money. Chris fundraised himself to death. We had good corporate sponsors and things like that. But, you know, budgets get blown out with time. You know, there's always a modification that's got to be done. There's always something that's got to be added.
When you said goodbye to him in Morocco, did it cross your mind it might be for the last time?
Absolutely, and we'd actually discussed that. He was at peace with that.
The 𝗶𝗏 was kitted with satellite and navigation systems and solar panels vital to keep the comms going. Food rations and medical supplies were carefully stored away in neat compartments.
Chris, I think of you paddling away on the Atlantic, but you also have to be a manager. There's so many things to do aboard that craft.
It is like project management 101, but 24/7, 7 days a week for 93 days. When I'm not on deck and I wasn't paddling, you're still making your nutrition, making your hydration, looking out that you're not going to get run over by super tankers, getting eaten by great white sharks, fixing the leaks where I thought I was going to sink. Lost all my water bottles, everything to drink out of, and then I can use this as a water container.
You said you were happiest when you were in the most remote place in the middle of the Atlantic.
I remember that moment where I was as far away from any other human on the planet. I was right in the middle of the Atlantic, 2,000 miles to Africa, 2,000 miles to North America, and I'd become so connected and comfortable with my environment, and that's very, very rare and a very special place to find within yourself.
The solitude for days on end brought mixed feelings, and at times the challenges to survive tested his mental capacity to the limit.
I've never been so desperate to try and finish something in my life.
After more than 3 months on the ocean, the end was in sight, and a support vessel was sent out in stormy seas to see if they could spot Bertish.
I think it was the first time that they'd actually seen and experienced what I'd actually been dealing with and what I'd actually been doing for 93 days in this deadly ocean. It was a pretty iconic way to finish an incredible journey that day.
And now Bertish is preparing for his next epic adventure, solo journey across the Pacific Ocean, powered entirely by nature on what is called a wing foil.
In May next year, he plans to wing foil a record 2,850 miles across the Pacific Ocean, from California to Hawaii. It'll be on his beloved 𝗶𝗏, but this time with wings and powered entirely by nature. The goal of this project is to raise awareness and funding for charitable organizations and climate change.
I really believe that we all get put on the planet to do something extraordinary and utilize your gifts that you have that you can give back to the world. I'm utilizing my gifts to be able to hopefully inspire the people, give back and make a positive impact on the world and other people around me.